6 to 15 of chapter 6. Bandhuratmanastasya yenatmaivatmana jitah anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat jitatmanah prashantasya paramatma samahitah शीतोष्ण सुख दुःखेषु तथा मानापमानयोः ज्ञान विज्ञान तृप्तात्मा कूटस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः युक्त इत्युच्यते योगी समलोष्टाश्मकाञ्चनः सुहृन्मित्राह्युदासीन मध्यस्तद्वेष्य बन्धुषु साधुष्वपि च पापेषु समबुद्धिर्विशिष्यते योगी युञ्जीत सततम् आत्मानं रहसि स्थितः एकाकीयत चित्तात्मा निराशीरपरिग्रहः शुचौ देशे प्रतिष्ठाप्य स्थिरमासनमात्मनः नात्युच्छ्रितं नातिनीचं चैलाजिनकुशोत्तरम् त्रैकाग्रं मनः कृत्वा यतचित्तेन्द्रियक्रियः उपविश्यासने युञ्ज्यात् योगमात्मविशुद्धये समं कायशिरो ग्रीवं धारयन्नचलं स्थिरः सम्प्रेक्ष्य नासिकाग्रं स्वं दिशश्चानवलोकयन् प्रशान्तात्मा विगतभिः ब्रह्मचारी व्रते स्थितः मनः संयम्य मच्चित्तः युक्त आसीत मत्परः युञ्जन्नेवं सदात्मानं योगी नियतमानसः शान्तिं निर्वाणपरमां मत्संस्थामधिगच्छति.
ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यंकरवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ओम शांति शांति शांति. There are a few clarifications with reference to what we have discussed in verse 9. We'll take those clarifications up and then we'll move on to the next. Clarification number 1 with reference to verse 9, chapter 6. I said mind reacts in three ways. Mind reacts in three ways. In relation to what it reacts in three ways? In relation to these 9 categories. That's what you are saying. Mind reacts in three ways in relation to these 9 categories. The three ways in which the mind reacts is either you run away, one possibility. Other possibility is you turn violent and you want to punish, change, whatever be it. The third one is you understand and be equanimous. These are the three possible reactions. The question is, does indifference exist here? What is indifference? Does indifference exist here? Yes, indifference does exist. What is indifference? Listlessness. Indifference is, I gave example. In the last week also I gave example. What is indifference? You go for a morning walk every day. You see the same persons, more or less the same group of people every day, and you say, good morning. You really don't mean anything. You're able to follow? This is called being listless. So happened, supposing you are working, more or less everybody goes at the same time into the office. And if the same group of people is going to the elevator, they greet each other. Good morning, they say to each other. But it doesn't really mean anything. This is called indifference. Are you able to follow? Or are you asking anything in specific? This is indifference. A state where you interact, but you really don't mean that interaction. That is called indifference. You will say, can I help you? You really don't mean to help. You follow what I'm saying? Sir. I will also say you will be the first person I will call you. And I don't call. And I will not call anybody. Are you able to follow? So there is for formality's sake, I will tell you, can I be of any help? So with the same formality, I have to answer back saying, no, thank you. The moment I say, can you come and do this? Or I need this help. Immediately the answer is, what will be the answer? Immediately what will be the answer? This is called, immediately the answer is no. This is called indifference. You say it, but you really don't mean it. And you don't expect the other person also to, believe in what you say. This is called indifference. But then why do you do it? It gives you a satisfaction. What is the satisfaction? I have asked. It gives you that in most of the relationships, in most of the time, we function listlessly out of indifference. Are you able to follow? This is called indifference. This is clarifying question number 1. What is indifference is the question. You interact and you really don't mean what you say. Most of the times it will be something, it will not be something negative in nature. Most of the times it will be something positive in nature, in indifference. Positive in nature means, can I be of some help to you? Good morning. Yeah.
தமிழ்ல உப்புக்கு சப்பானின்னு கேட்கறது ஆனா செய்ய மாட்டாங்க.
ஆமா. Call me sir, I will be the first person. Clear? Any work in the institute, tell me sir, I'll be there. That person will not be there. And then why do they say it? It is a mere a formality where you really don't mean it. You can say straight away, you can say, I am not free, I cannot come. That is being more honest and straightforward. Rather than this attitude is called indifference. This attitude is called indifference. And yet why people do this most of the times? It gives them the solace, it gives them the comfort, it gives them the thing that I have offered. And if anybody takes your offering, you will not like. So what should be the understanding there in indifference? You should say, do you need any help? And I should say, no, thank you. This is called indifference. Most of our interactions in life is out of indifference, listlessly.
But it was not listed in the three categories. You said one is escapist and the other one is a violent person. Third is equanimous person.
Escapist is indifference. Escapist is a person who is escaping who will be an escapist? Indifferent person. Indifference is escapism. What is escapism? I have asked you. What is escapism? I have asked you, but don't ask me to do what I have asked you. Just because I have asked you, don't ask me to do. This is called escapism. Indifference. This is called indifference. Just because I have asked you, can I be of any help to you? Immediately don't call me. Escaping from what? Escaping from the action. Escaping from what? Escaping from the actual action that one has to perform. This is called indifference. Are you able to follow? Second clarification is, I gave two examples, a fungal covering sandalwood and Swamiji's example of oxidation to the Brasso technique. Swamiji's example of Brasso technique, and I added another example, fungal covering sandalwood. This is the examples I gave. Now, what is the question on this? What is the question on these two? I'm not able to understand.
So if oxidation is to brass and fungal covering is to sandalwood, the three gunas, I am assuming that the three guna is the fungal covering. What is it to the?
Now, okay. Now what she is asking is, now I understand. Okay, sir, oxidation is understood. Fungal to sandalwood is understood. What is that in relation to the individual? The Rajoguna and the Tamoguna. In the initial stages, the oxidation is the Tamoguna and the Rajoguna, and you make an effort, endeavor to be in Sattva Guna as much as possible.
So the sandalwood is Sattva Guna.
Yes. What ought to be cleaned?
Yes.
What ought to be cleaned? Rajoguna and Tamoguna ought to be cleaned and be in Sattva as much as possible. And when you get into Sattva itself will turn into Trans-Sattva. How to turn from Sattva to Trans-Sattva, don't bother. That you need not worry. That will happen by That will take care. Sattva takes care of that. But the problem is how to remove the rajas and tamas. So what is fungal? What is oxidation? The rajoguna and tamoguna is the fungal, is the oxidation. That you have to, that's what you have to remove. And how do you remove that? By the process of Shravana, Manana, Karma Yoga, whatever we talk about. By the process of Shravana, Manana, Karma Yoga, whatever it is, that's how it gets. What is the cleaning process? Shravana, Manana, Karma Yoga is the cleaning process.
And the sandalwood is sattva.
Yes, yes. Once you get to the level of sattva, that sattva will turn into Kansattva. That you need not worry right now. You need to worry about eradicating the tamoguna and the rajoguna. Are you able to follow? Yes. The third clarification. I always say one is the equanimity, which is an internal state. And then there is the transactional condition. There is a transactional state. There are two things. One is an internal state, another is transactional. Explain with example for the 9 categories of people. She is wanting a list. Yeah. What is it? She's wanting a list of all the 9 categories. There is no such list for the 9 categories. We cannot say Suhrud means this is how you do, this is how you do, this is how you do. In fact, when I was discussing the 9 categories, each and every category, in each and every category, it was explained already. What is that category and how does a Samadarshinaha deal with that person? It was explained already in detail with all the categories. Quickly, I will recap I'm not going into the details. I'll quickly recap the 9. What is the first one? Sukhran. Who is a Sukhran? Sukhran is potentially good. Potentially good means goodness without any reason. Goodness without any specific reason is a Sukhran. Who is a Dveshya? Hatred without any specific reason. Mitra is good because of a specific reason. Friend. Enemy. Hatred because of a specific reason. Yeah. And then the Udasina, the 5th category, indifferent. Who are they? Indifferent category. You sit in the bus, you got a nice window seat, the bus is full, you are sitting comfortably, you have a long journey, 3-4 hours journey you have, and you see a old man getting into the bus, a pregnant woman getting into the bus. Immediately you pretend as though you are sleeping. You close your eyes. You pretend you are sleeping. Indifferent. Are you able to follow? This is indifference. Neutral. Who is a neutral? Neutral means in any situation you can rely on this person to give a impartial assessment. Madhyastha. The Sanskrit word is Madhyastha. In Kannada they say no. Madhyastham vantarpa we say. Panchayat panna vantarpa we say. Who is a person who is neutral. Neutral means who can give an impartial assessment of the situation is a Madhyastha. And then Bandhu. Bandhu means where there is a relationship. Bandhu, family, extended family, all this is the Bandhu. All the 7 categories are in relation to the world. And then the other two categories, sadhu and a papi. Sadhu is one who lives life according to the Shastras. A papi is one who says, I will do exactly opposite of what the Shastras tell me to do. Is a sadhu and a papi. Sadhu is one who lives life according to the Shastras. And sadhus are acceptable as long as they are from the other families. Clear? If your son or daughter wants to become a sadhu, it is not acceptable. Why? Because a sadhu has to live on bhiksha and dakshina. A sadhu is one who lives on bhiksha and dakshina. Bhiksha means what? Anybody gives anything to eat, he will eat. He will not say, I want this, I want that. Bhiksha. Yeah, bhiksha means Bhavati bhiksha. Dakshina means yeah, offering. So a sadhu is one who has rebelled. A sadhu is a rebel and a papi is also a rebel. But what is the difference between the two? Sadhu is also a rebel. Yeah. Okay. From the eyes of others, I may be a very good person, but in the eyes of my father, mother, my friends, my sister, I am a rebel because I rebelled against. In their eyes, I am a rebel. Why? I went against the norms of what they had. Sadhu also breaks the norms. The papi also breaks the norms. But what is the difference between sadhu and a papi? There is a difference between the two. Are you able to follow? What is the difference between a sadhu and a papi? Sadhu breaks the worldly norms for dharma. Papi breaks the dharmic norms for the world. That is the difference between a sadhu and a papi. Are you able to follow? These are the 9 categories of people. The first 7 belongs to the world. The last 2 belongs to the category of a rebel. Both are rebellious, but what they rebel against makes them sadhu or a papi. For even a religious person is all religious masters were rebels. Religiosity start with being you want to be religious, you have to be a rebel. Now the issue is rebelling against what makes you a sadhu or a papi. A papi is one who says, Shastra says that na, I will go against the dharma, is a papi. Who is a sadhu? Rebels against the worldly norms for following the path of knowledge, dharma. These are the 9 categories. How do you, now the question is, how do you deal with each and every one?
The question is, all the 9 exist in an individual student.
I said,
9 Swabhavas exist in an individual. But that's how I understood.
no. She has misunderstood. She said, I said all the 9 categories exist in an individual.
The 9 Swabhavamu.
The 9 bhavas exist in a single individual? No. I didn't say that.
I understood it like that.
Yes, that is the problem. I never said, because all the 9 categories cannot exist in one one individual. You can't be a Sukran and Dveshya also at the same time. In an individual, you don't have these proportions. It is not, I never said that. I never said in one individual, all the 9 categories exist. I said, in the world, these 9 categories, exist, and you need to have a Samadarshinaha. With all the 9 categories, you have an equanimity. You have that equanimous state with all the 9 categories. Are you able to follow? Clear?
Yeah, I could be wrong, but my question was, if all the 9 in some proportion is existing in an individual and Vyavaharika purpose,
No.
all the equanimity
No.
is my state.
Now, what she thought was, if all these 9 categories exist in one individual, how will I relate with that individual? For which the answer is, all these 9 will not exist in a single individual. All these 9 categories will not exist in one individual. It's wrong. Some combination will be there. It will be 1 or 2, but never opposites. It can be 1 or 2, but never opposites. A person can't be a Suhran and Papi at the same time. He can't be a Suhran and Papi at the same time. In one individual, he can't have little bit of Suhran quality and little bit of Papi quality. These combinations and all don't. These are all complicating it unnecessarily. Whatsoever you have assessed that person is, you should have Samadarshinaha. That's all he's saying. He's not talking about how to relate with the 9 is not, this is not his. How to relate with this 9 is not his concern. He say these 9 categories exist and you should deal with them with equanimity. That's all he's saying. Now, I diluted it by saying how you can understand these 9 and what is all that I have explained. I'm not going into the same verse explanation again. I'm not going into that explanation again. But it is wrong to say all qualities will exist in little proportion in one individual. You dissect it to this, you will go mad. You will not know how to relate with anybody. If you go on dissecting like this and want to associate with anybody, you will just go mad. You will not know how to relate with anybody after that. All that you need to understand is every individual will have 1 or 2 predominant, 1 or 2 that is manifesting, 1 or 2 that is predominant. Work on that. That is enough.
But it is my job to understand, to identify whether that person is a Suhran or a Mitra.
No, that's not your job. Is not to judge who they are, identify what they are. That's not your. That you should not do. That is not what is said at all. Third week I'm saying the same thing, but you will go back to the same thing again. This is not meant for judging, assessing the other. This is meant for what? This is meant for what? To see what is there in you and how you would want to be to the world. See what is there in you. Do you want to be a Papi or you want to be a Suhran? Are you able to follow? Not to judge the other. This is not to assess the other. You don't make any effort to assess the. You don't make these kind of distinctions. Again and again and again, when I started this verse, I said this. And you don't listen. You hear that which you want to. You hear that which you want to hear. You don't hear what is being told. It's not your fault. That's how everyone is. It takes time to, are you able to follow? It takes time to get to know the knowledge. So these 9 categories are not meant for, are you able to follow? Judge, analyze for This knowledge we have saying again and again and again. Knowledge is a magnifying glass. Knowledge magnifies everything. And don't use the magnifying glass on the other. Use the magnifying glass on yourself. Knowledge magnifies. Knowledge is a magnifying glass. Knowledge exposes everything very clearly. And if you use it on the other, it's abuse of knowledge. Are you able to follow? Where you have to use it on, yourself. Are you able to follow? Is it okay?
ஏன்னா உள்ள economies வெளியில வந்து டிரான்சாக்ட் வியாபாரிக பர்பஸ் கோசம் அவட்ட அப்படி நடந்துக்கணும்னா அது எனக்கு எப்படி கனெக்ட் பண்றதுன்னு தெரியல.
How to develop equanimity? Are you not able to understand there are these 9 categories? First question, are you not able to understand there are these 9 categories of people? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. Now, what is the difficulty in? What is the difficulty? There are these 9 categories. How do you know these 9 categories? If they sit in a meditative posture with their eyes closed, will you know? How will you know? How do you identify these categories? How do you identify these categories in the others? How? When they are fast asleep, you will know. When they are in meditative posture, you will know. When they come and sit in Vedanta class, they look like Shankaracharya. How do you know? How do you know this man? How do you know these categories? By manifestations. Are you able to follow? By manifestations. By their manifestations, you know. So, what is Vyavaharika transactional purposes means? What is Vyavaharika transactional purposes means? Based on the manifestation, you transact, but your internal state is one of equanimity. Are you able to follow now? Based on the manifestation, you transact, but your internal state is one of equanimity. This is called Samadarshinaha. I am not able to do how to do. You are not asked to do now. You are not expected to do this now. You are only expected to theoretically understand. You are not expected to do. You are not asked to do. You are not told to do. Katha Kalakshepam Kekara Madri, you have to hear it and forget it and go back to Facebook and YouTube at 9 o'clock. That's what you are expected. You are not expected to take all this seriously. You go back to that. At 9 o'clock, you have to go back to that. You follow what I'm saying? You are supposed to theoretically understand. Each and every verse you are not expected to practice. Each and every verse you are not expected to practice. You are supposed to. First is Shravana. Understand. Don't immediately try to practice. The problem is, as soon as you hear, you want to practice and become a Shankaracharya. As soon as you hear, you want to understand, and this understanding must instantly bring about a transformation, and you'll want to walk out like a Shankaracharya. This is called, in one word, what is this called? In one word, this is called greed. In one word, this is called greed. Greed doesn't help you. Getting greedy doesn't help you. By willing to go through the Shravana, Manana, Karma Yoga process only, you will be able to practice. The explanation is done as spoon feeding, Konar notes. Explanation is done as Konar notes in Radhanala. He thinks that it looks like you have to practice it immediately. It is only to motivate you to do more and more Shravana. That's all. It is only to motivate you to do more and more Shravana and develop the conviction for tapas and Karma Yoga. It is only to, are you able to follow? And you are not told to practice, or what you are told to practice, that you will not practice. What you are told to practice, manana and the karma yoga. Are you able to follow? By practice of but sir, 3 weeks I have practiced. Nothing has happened. Yeah. 3 weeks I practiced, nothing has happened. You have a disease where lifetime medication is required. If you practice now, that day you will be all right. Next morning you wake up, you will be back to square one. So you have to take medication on that day also. It depends on the intensity of the disease. There are some disease where 3 days of medication is okay. There are some disease where 3 weeks of medication is all right. If the disease is so strong, you have to take lifetime medication. Ravana Manana Karma Yoga is a diabetes madri. Yeah. You have to take, it's a lifetime medication. Meaning, if you take on that day, you will be all right for that day. You have spondylitis, yeah, you have spondylitis, you have sciatica, no, you will know. The doctor says nothing can be done. So what do you mean nothing can be done? Exercise. You exercise today, you will be all right for today. You sleep and wake up back to. But sir, I have exercised for 3 weeks. I have exercised for 3 months. What will happen? That 3 months of exercise will save you 1 extra day. If you have exercised for 3 years, that 3 years of exercise will save you for 2 days, 3 days. But it has to be done every day. Are you able to follow? For understand it like this. There are some diseases that requires 3 days medication. There are some diseases that requires a couple of weeks medication. There are some diseases which requires lifetime medication. Ajnanam is a lifetime disease. The intensity of it is, you have no clue to the intensity of the ignorance that you have been carrying for so long. And you can't ask 2 weeks of medication. Will it help? It will not. Are you okay? Venkat. தைரியமா கிளாஸ்ல தான் திட்ட முடியும். Yeah, after the class, nothing I can do. Yeah, only in the class I am showing off like a brave man, huh? Bharat. Yeah. Class, I am showing off like a brave person. After the class is over, I tuck my tail and I stay quiet. Yeah. Where will I get my breakfast and lunch? Yeah. Okay. Another clarification. What is the difference between the need and greed? What is the difference between the need and the greed? First, we will define need. Need, as in the elementary school define as food, clothing and shelter. The elementary school defines need as food, clothing and shelter. Any food is all right. Any clothing is all right. Any shelter is all right. Even the umbrella that I have to carry should match with my dress, no? The footwear, the umbrella, everything has to match, no? I'm not saying it's wrong. Are you able to follow? So, even though elementary school defines need as food, clothing and shelter, what kind of food, what kind of clothing, what kind of shelter? The need. This is the biological survival needs, the physical survival needs. And then comes the emotional need to give love and receive love. The emotional need to give love and receive love. And then the intellectual need, knowledge. Human being needs knowledge in any subject, not necessarily in all subjects, but everybody will want knowledge of something or the other. For it's the need. So there is a physical need, there is an emotional need, and then there is an intellectual need, and then there is the spiritual need. What is a spiritual need? All these three are satisfied, but still something in you says there is something beyond all this. There is something beyond all this. There is something beyond all this. This is called as the need. Physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. One aspect takes care of one need. The material sciences takes care of the physical need. Meaning, at one point of time, I thought, oh, the summer is too difficult. If only I can make the summer cool, I'll be all right. If only I could make the summer cool, I'll be all right. 6 months, 8 months of winter is horrible. Can't survive. If only I can make the winter warm, I will be all right. Materialistic sciences makes this effort. And summer has become cool and winter has become warm. The last 4 or 5 years, people ask me from other places, sir, how is summer in Chennai? I say, I don't know summer in Chennai. What, sir? I get into the car, air conditioned. I go to any place, it is air conditioned. I come back and sleep, it is air conditioned. Where is summer? Are you able to follow? The physical need is taken care of. In that AC room, I am bickering, I am complaining, I am fighting, I am agitated. In that AC room. In that AC room, I am sitting and contemplating suicide. Emotional. Are you able to follow? Emotional. So, one need is taken care of. The other need also has to. So, what does the human being do? The human being tries to fulfill the 3 needs first. What are the 3 needs? Physical, emotional, and intellectual. To take care of the physical needs, wealth is required. Wealth is required to take care of the physical needs. Iron and gold is good for buying iron and gold. With wealth, you can hire people, but you can't hire their loyalty and integrity. You can hire people with wealth, but what you can't hire? You can't hire their loyalty and integrity. So with wealth, so to take care of the physical needs, wealth is required. Now the question is, where does greed come in? Where does greed come in? Where does greed come in? Greed comes when I am not willing to discipline my senses and I just want to pamper my senses. Where does greed come in? Greed comes when I do not want to practice discipline at the physical level, but I want to pamper my senses at all the time. I want my senses to be pampered. From need, it turns into greed. When does need turn into greed? What is the turning point? What is the point that need turns into greed? When? It turns when the mind says, why discipline? Why not? Why unnecessarily? Why unnecessarily discipline? When it is there, simply, when it is there, enjoy. When it is not there, when it is there, enjoy. When it is not there, acquire and enjoy. Where is the problem? When it is there, enjoy. When it is not there, acquire and enjoy. And this process of acquisition makes a person turns greedy, but that person will not be able to understand it as greed at all. Why? Because the mind still says it as, the mind will still call it as need only. Take care of my children, I take care of my grandchildren, I take care of my great grandchildren. Where does it stop? The need versus greed. The question, when is enough enough? When is enough enough? Enough is never enough is enough, he says. Enough is never enough. Are you able to follow? So, what is the actual point where need turns into greed? The actual point where need turns into greed is when the mind refuses to follow any kind of discipline, but want to be in that mode of indulgence all the time, and that indulgence is called as a need. That is where, to bring about this difference very clearly in the very first step itself, Shastra says, practice sense control, brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means sense, not marrying. 65-year-old fellow not married is not a brahmachari. Clear? One who practices sense control. You get something, carefully follow now. You get something, mind quickly gets neutralized to it. Mind quickly gets neutralized to it, bored with it, and it wants the next. Are you able to follow? It gets quickly neutralized, bored, frustrated, and it wants the next. Where do you stop? There is no end. Till you crash, you go on. Till you crash, you go on till you crash. This is how the need turns into a greed. At the material level, I'm giving. Now I'm going to emotional level. What is emotional level? What is the need I said? To give love and receive love. What is the need and what is the greed here? What is the need and the greed here?
Love me for every
Huh? Receiving. You need to give love and you need to receive love. It's an emotional need. What is need and greed here? Whoever shows emotion to you, you want it to be Whoever shows some affection to you, you want it to be constant, permanent, in increasing proportion, sir. அதே லெவல்ல கொடுத்திருந்தா பத்தாது. அதே லெவல்ல கொடுத்திருந்தா பத்தாது. It has to be in increasing proportions. How is it possible? The person loving you need not love you tomorrow. It has to be a need, which is a need where it starts with a few only. You can't start with the universe love. You can never start with universal love. It will always start with a few only. It has to start with the few. Om should be the center of your affection and not the boundary of it. Om should be the center of your affection and not the boundary of it. It will start with the few only. It cannot start with the totality straight away. It will start with a few. And you need not restrict your affection to a few. You need not restrict it. If you restrict it to a few, what happens? If you restrict it to a few, what happens? It turns foul, it turns bitter. It turns foul, it turns bitter. This is at the level of the need and the greed at the level of the emotion. What is need and greed at the level of the intellect? Greed is Googling about medicine is greed. You are not a doctor and you Google about medicine and you Google about the prescription is greed. Why? You have no knowledge of medicine. Yeah, you have no knowledge of medicine and you want to greed is a belief that you can know everything. You cannot know everything. எல்லாத்துலயும் கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சம் சார். That is more dangerous. That is today this aragora is, and the Google has made everybody aragora. Yeah. See, imagine the entire society is aragora. What you will do? The entire society is today is that. Thanks to, yeah, I have seen him. No, prescription is given. They will come out and they will immediately Google. And you read that, looks like doctor is poisoning you to death. You read that, it looks very clear. What? The doctor is not intending to cure you, but the doctor is intending to kill you. Huh? Rajini. They think doctor is intending to kill. Why? Side effects, no sir. Side effects, no sir. Even Mahabali's ego is insignificant in front of our ego. What side effect? Are you able to follow? This is greed at the level of the need. Is we all need some expertise. We all need some expertise, some knowledge. We all need that. Everybody needs knowledge. What is greed here? Becoming an expert in one, making you to believe that you can know. That you can know everything. You can pass a comment on. You can pass a comment on everything. Believing that you know everything. You can pass a comment on everything is greed. Huh? What do you do then? Respect the expertise of the other. Respect the expertise of the other and surrender. That's all. Respect the other man's expertise. But you can't do that. Why? Because you think,
I can learn.
because you think you can know everything. Sir, அதுல போட்டிருக்குதே சார், any medicine, dizziness will come, yeah, side effects. You take that medicine, you will feel dizzy, you will feel this, water retention will come, weight gain will happen, this will happen. These are all the side effects. So when you read all that, do you have conviction to take the medicine, or you want to? Knowledge is not empowering you. Knowledge is making you more. Knowledge is not empowering you. Knowledge is making you more and more. Knowledge is making you more and more what? Information is making you more and more untrustworthy. You are not able to trust anyone. Why? You can be an expertise in one. That's all. You can be an expert in one. In other areas, you need to. In other areas, you need to. You need to surrender. You cannot do that. Yeah. In other areas, you need to surrender. But sir, in case if I'm cheated, I need to know. Yeah. When we have said it is your area of ignorance, how can you? Can you do? So what do you do? More and more information confuses you, paralyzes you. Too much of information will bring an intellectual paralysis. The intellect will be paralyzed. What is intellectual paralysis means? You will not be able to move in any direction. You will not be able to move because you know too much. It's like the python swallowed. It's like the python swallowing. It can't. It just can't move. This is need and greed at the level of the. It is need and greed at the level of the intellect. It is a spiritual knowledge that teaches you these differences. Who teaches you these differences? The need and greed at the physical, emotional, intellectual level. It is the spiritual knowledge. And the spiritual knowledge also can be converted into greed. How the spiritual knowledge also gets converted into greed? I didn't come here for transformation and all, sir. I thought knowledge will solve all my problems and makes my life comfortable. Yes, knowledge will do it. Knowledge, I mean here spiritual knowledge, Vedantic knowledge. It will help you. When it will help you? When you follow the prescription. Knowledge will help you when you follow the prescription. If you make your own prescription, it will not help. Why? Because you will make prescription according to your likes and dislikes. When you make a prescription, you will make a prescription according to your likes and dislikes. So the spiritual knowledge acts like a coach. At the physical level, there will be a coach. You will be running. You have run 3 kilometers. Your heart is pounding. Your heart is pounding. Your whole body is tired and weak. You feel like you are going to collapse and die. What does the coach say? What does the coach say? The coach say, run. Looks like the coach wants you to die. 90% will stop. That 10 who runs understand if they can survive that few moments, they can comfortably run for another kilometer. They can comfortably run for another kilometer. That's how the strength and stamina. That's how the strength and stamina increases. Those few minutes are. Those few minutes are able to follow the example, but those few minutes are excruciating. Those few minutes are extremely painful. So, when does greed take over? When does the need turn into greed? Need turns into greed when any form of self-control is not accepted, the need turns into greed. For example, you have to eat. You have to eat. When you are hungry, you have to eat. Eat to an extent where you can comfortably have two more. Yeah, they say. And where do you have to stop eating? Where you can comfortably have two more, you stop at that. Sir, when you can comfortably have two more, why not eat, sir? Why not eat? Stopping there is what? You are doing good to the body. Taking care of the needs does good to the body. Taking care of the greed makes you sick. Physical sick, emotional sick, intellectual sick. It means what? So when does need turn into greed now? Are you able to follow? When does need turn into greed? When any form of self-control is,
Fine.
when the mind resists and violates self-control. That's why the first discipline that we talk about here is the yoga of sense control. Start with the senses and slowly move on. Are you able to follow? Start with the senses and slowly move on. That's how the growth happens. Is it okay? When does wealth need, where do you draw the line? The whole thing boils down to where do you draw the line? What is the limit? Where do you draw the line? The whole thing boils down to that. You draw the line in reference to the goal. That is why you need a goal in life. You can draw a line only in relation to a goal. What is your goal? In relation to that goal, you will be able to draw the line. We find it very difficult to draw a line because we don't have any goals at all. If at all we have a goal, it's very, like Swamiji says, can't see beyond the tip of your nose, he says. You can't see beyond the tip of your nose, meaning it is so short-sighted. So how do you draw the line? You draw the line based on your goal. In order to know the limit, you can know the limit only if you have only in relation to a goal. It can be only in relation to a goal. You can know the limit. I want to be an athlete. Then you know how much to eat, how much not to eat. I want to have a fit body. Fit body means I should not exceed. What does fit body means? I should not exceed 60 kilos. I'm just giving arbitrary number. I'm just giving arbitrary number. 50 kilos, 60 kilos, some goal. So since you have that goal, you know where to draw the line and stop eating. Are you able to follow? So how does it? How can you draw the line? The line can be drawn only in relation to the goal. Higher the goal, better it is. That's why in Karma Yoga he says, in third chapter we saw, in Karma Yoga he says, keep the goal as high as possible. Keep the goal as high as possible. Keep the goal as high as possible. Obviously, what it implies is you have common sense and you will put common sense into it. Obviously, it means that. Or you will take guidance. Or you will take what it means in this, what is assumed here? Either you use your common sense and you fix the goal, or you take guidance and fix the goal. In that way, you can never make a mistake. In that way, you can never make a mistake. And there are enough guidances available for every level to teach you. Enough guidances are available at every level to tell you what should be your goal. There is the physical trainer. There is the physician telling you what should be the ideal weight. All that I need to do is what? Follow that. There is this Vedantic knowledge saying how to handle the need and greed of the emotions, how to handle the need and greed of the knowledge of the worldly knowledges. All that you need to do is what? Understand that and follow. Are you able to follow? You can't follow you should not follow without understanding. That's why week after week after week we meet trying to understand, so that out of understanding you will be able to follow. You will know. For example, you have arthritis pain. You will not have a goal of running race, no. You have arthritis pain. Your goal will not be to go for a running race. What will be your goal? To walk straight, sit up, and when you sit down, you will want to get up by yourself. You will not want 10 people to come on. That's all. I have the knee pain and all the joints are aching and I want to run marathon race, sir. This is not a goal. This is called greed again. Are you able to follow? This is not a goal. This is called greed again. So when you fix a goal, obviously you take care of yourself. You know your capacity. You know your capacity. Unfortunately, what happens is, now carefully follow, all problems. Unfortunately, we always take guidance. You know, who do we go for advice? Who will agree with us? Have you ever noticed that? When one child has a problem, it will go to another child only. Why? Because you will take advice. Even when you go for guidance, you will not go to guidance at a higher level. You always go to guidance at a person at a level who will agree with you. You look for I tell you, how people do that is a miracle, but people do that. They will find the person who will agree with them and they will go to that person only. This is not taking guidance. Are you able to follow? This is not taking guidance. Example, when one child has a problem, it will go to another child for. That is why they will come back and say, I discussed it with my friends. And when the child says, I discussed it with my friends, you want to give one to your child and you want to give two to the other child. Who is the friend? I discussed it with my friend. Who's your friend? Another child. Who will go for guidance? And then we say they guided me wrongly, sir. If I'm wrongly guided, what will happen? You go for wrong guidance, know what to do. Why? Because you look for people who will agree with you. You want people who will agree with you. You don't want people who will say the right thing. And I tell you, that is the divine support to life. That's the divine grace to life. Proper guidance, real guidance, true guidance is available all the time. Are you willing to take the pain to listen to the true guidance? Are you willing to go through the pain to listen to the true guidance? 95% are not. 95% are not willing because the pain. Can there be a painless way of doing it, sir? Pain இல்லாம சொல்லி கொடுத்தா எப்படி இருக்கும்? பெயின் இல்லாம சொல்லி கொடுத்தா எப்படி இருக்கும்? It is not possible. Anybody who, what is true guidance? Guidance is anything or anybody recommends self-control and sacrifice from you, take it as a true guidance. Anybody who says correct, the other is wrong, and run away from that girl. That is the thumb rule. Thumb rule for guidance. Anybody who recommends self-control and sacrifice from you, idam pain. Anybody who says correct, I fully naan andalta ide kashtam da naanu pattirukken. I have also suffered in the same way with that fellow only. Abdinna, he is in agreement with you, and don't take any guidance from that person. Why? Because the nature of the mind is to get into a lethargy. What nowadays they call as comfort zone. Nowadays they call it as comfort zone. What is the nature of the mind is to get into a lethargy. And what is lethargy? Uniform motion is lethargy. What is lethargy? Body continues to be in a state of rest or of uniform motion. Both are considered as lethargy. So what is guidance means? Wakes you out of your lethargy. And when it is when you are woken up out of your lethargy, it cannot be done in a pleasant way. There will be an element of, there will be some pain. Sir, willingly, why go and take such pain, sir? Why take such pain? If pain visits you, you are devastated. If you voluntarily take up pain, you grow. If you voluntarily take up pain, you grow. When pain visits you, you are devastated. And we all invite pain. Voluntarily taking up pain is called tapas. Voluntarily taking up pain is called tapas. You take up pain voluntarily. What is voluntarily taking up pain? once in 2 weeks, once a month, fast. Fast. Food is available, but you are fasting. That is joy. Hunger is there, and the food is also there, but you are not having it. Is joy, is control. You are hungry, food is not there, and you do not know whether you will get food or not. Is devastating. Both are hunger. One hunger gives joy, control, growth. Another hunger makes you do. Another hunger makes you do all the wrong things that you should not do. What is the difference? You voluntarily take up. So what is guidance means? Self-control. Sorry, sense control, self-control. What is the third thing I said? Sense control, self-control is at the level of the bodily needs. Sense control is at the level of the bodily needs. At the level of the emotion, what is it? Follow this formula. Follow the simple formula, you'll be all right. That simple formula is what is taught in pranayama sessions. Follow that formula. In breathing classes, they teach you a formula to breathe. What is the formula they teach you to breathe? Input and the output. If you take 4 seconds to breathe in, you should take 8 seconds to breathe out. Vitality increases that way. Means what? It means what? Follow this principle in every transactions of life. Make sure that what you give is more than what you take. That's all. Your need is also taken care of, and you never get greedy. You're able to follow? What you give out is double than what you necessarily have to take something. Please understand that. Necessarily, everybody has to take something. You cannot live life without that. But where is your attention? What you take in versus what you give out. Pranayama says, if you take 4 seconds to breathe in, your output must be twice. If somebody loves you a little bit, what you should do? Love them twice. You gain this much knowledge. You gain this much knowledge. What do? The I don't know is you gain this much knowledge, and this much knowledge you have gained will make you to say, I don't know more. More and more you gain knowledge, more and more you understand that you can never know many. You can never know many. Impossible. You recognize? This is how you differentiate between the need and the greed. And then if you can't do it for yourself, you take guidance. And how do you know that? What are the formula that has to be checked whether the guidance is right or not? Guidance means that should demand some. Guidance means that should demand from you some sense control, self-control, and sacrifice. Never make the mistake of going to guidance with those who agree with you. That's why the Guru, anything you say, the Guru will not agree. Anything you say, the Guru will not agree. And then you will go back thinking, sorry, Guru, yeah. Why? To break the pattern. What is the pattern? The pattern of the mistake, the fundamental mistake. When one child has a problem, it will go to another child. It will not go to the teacher. It will not come to the parent. It will not come to the higher at all. Why? Because they don't understand, sir. Only friends can understand. The higher cannot understand. No. It's not the higher cannot understand. What they give us a solution is unacceptable. It's not the higher cannot understand. The higher gives a solution, but that solution is not acceptable. And the friend gives a solution which is acceptable. Why? Because it is at the same level. We are not saying don't have friends, sir. Please. That's not what is intended. We are talking about a specific aspect of guidance. We're talking about a specific aspect of guidance. Venkat, groupla message போட்டுருங்க. No more clarifications with verse number 9, chapter 6. It is removed from the syllabus. Chapter 6, verse 9 is removed from the syllabus. No more clarifications from this chapter. Where are the no?
Yes, 4 more are there.
What are they asking?
Yeah.
Clarification. Bharat and show. Yes, ma. Yeah.
Hari Om. So the question is that when we study in the morning, there are lots of thoughts that come in the mind. So is there a way to avoid this?
Yes. See, if thoughts are coming, it's all right. It shows that you are awake. If thoughts are coming, it is perfectly all right. It is perfectly all right. Even in meditation, if thoughts comes, you are all right. All that we have to do is to dismiss it, not pay attention to it. Thoughts will come. You cannot prevent the thoughts from coming. The only way to prevent the thoughts from coming is the vasana has to be eradicated. Then only you can stop the thoughts from coming. As long as vasanas are there, thoughts will come. And thoughts coming is never a problem. Please understand that. Thoughts coming is never a problem. You don't pay attention to it and feed it further. Be aware of the thought and say that I will not feed it further. If you stop feeding it, it will stop by itself. So when thoughts come, first understand that it is natural for thoughts to come. It means two things, that you are alert and awake. Because thoughts will not come only when you are sleeping. When you are in deep sleep, thoughts will not come. When the vasanas are not there, thoughts will not come. It means vasanas are still there. Thoughts will come. All that you need to do is not feed it further. Don't pay attention to it. Don't feed it further. You always tell that I will attend to you later. Na, it will quiet down. Say that why are you coming? Don't fight with it. Don't fight with it. Don't try to suffocate it. Say I will deal with you later. Now mind gets satisfied because Mind says, yes, I am attended to now, mind will be satisfied. Say that, and what is the way to pay attention? I will attend to you later. Till the time I have fixed for study, I will not pay attention to you. Now it will wait because it knows that you are going to pay attention. That's how you deal with it. Is it okay, Anshu? Yeah. Next, Prasanna. Prasanna, yes, pa.
சார் நம்ம இன்டர்னல் ஸ்டேட்னு ஒன்று இருக்கு, டிரான்சாக்ஷனலா ஒன்று இருக்குன்ற. அப்படின்னா அத்வைத்தம் எப்படி ப்ராக்டிஸ் பண்ண முடியும்? அத்வைத்தம்னா வி ஆர் இன் நம்மளோட முயற்சியை நம்ம செய்யறோம், வி ஆர் சரண்டரிங் டு பிரம்மன், அவ்வளவுதான். ஸோ தெர் ஆர் நோ டூ திங்ஸ் இல்லையா?
No. The fact that you said that we are doing what we ought to do itself is a transaction. When we say we are doing what we ought to do itself is a transaction, and we surrender to Brahman. Surrendering to Brahman itself is a duality. Advaita is not a practice. Advaitam is what I understand intellectually and keep that as a goal to reach. But all practices happen in the level of Dvaitam only. All practices implies two, the practice and the practitioner. The duality will be there. And what is Advaitam? Who can practice Advaitam? What is the practice of Advaitam? There is no practice of Advaitam that is possible. Advaitam can be understood and it can be kept as a goal to reach. At the practical level, there are these two things. What are the two things? One is your internal state. Another is for transactional purposes. For example, your internal state is you have no value for wealth. For transactional purposes, you have to have wealth. Internally, you have no value for wealth, but for transactional purposes, you need wealth. Now, what we are saying, so for transactional purposes, if I need wealth, I have to acquire wealth. Doesn't mean I am moving away from the goal. Are you able to follow the difference? So one is my internal state, another is the transactional purposes. The internal state is one of equality and equanimity, samadarshinaha. In transactional purposes, I will not give charcoal to you and ask you to give diamond. Both are carbon, both are carbon, both are equal. Now you keep the carbon charcoal and give me the diamond. No. At the Vyavaharika level, there is a distinct difference between charcoal and the diamond. At the Vyavaharika level, there is a transactional difference is there. And you need to accept the and you need to know the difference. Then only your transactions will be clear. Otherwise, I will be a mudaha. Elsewhere, what in Bhagavad Gita, he calls it as a pramudaha. If I don't know the transactional difference, I will be a pramudaha. But then my internal state will not be affected because of the transactional differences. That is Samadarshina. Are you able to follow? Yes, Prasanna. He has one more. You have to unmute yours. Yeah.
Yes, sir. சார் அப்போ நம்ம கோல் வந்து அச்சீவ் பண்றதுன்றது நமக்கு தெரியாது இல்லையா? அப்போ when we say Advaitam is a state which has to be achieved,
Yes.
We will be till our end of life we will be functioning in the world.
Yes.
Without action, there is it is impossible for us. There is no life.
Yes.
Yes. So Advaitam is possible only at the end of life. Abdi aiduma.
Advaitam becomes possible when all through my tapas, the Shravana Manana Nididhyasana, when all my Sanchita Vasanas get eradicated. when I burn up the Sanchita completely, when I burn up my Sanchita completely, for all practical purposes, I have reached the state of Advaitam. After that, there is nothing for me. Me means the person who has reached that state. Are you able to follow?
Yes, correct. Right.
So, and the Sanchita will get burnt only when I am alive. Then only I will know that Sanchita is burnt. If I say Sanchita will get burnt only upon death, now who to know that Sanchita is burnt? In my next Janma, it means I am getting back into the cycle. You follow what I am saying? While I am alive, through the process of Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana and Karma Yoga, whatever it is, all my Sanchita gets burnt up. When all my Sanchita Vasana is burnt up, I have reached the state of non-dual, which is the state of what you call as Advaitam. Seriya? Prasanna? Yeah. Bharat? Bharat.
Yes. Sir, my question is this thing slightly. So sometime we have heard Swamiji and yourself also talk about the three gunas, basically the Rajas, Tattva, and so these qualities which you have put, and I'm coming back to the question. Sorry about that. The qualities.
Yeah.
Now, earlier we had told that all the people in the world or all the human beings, etc., can be categorized in these three categories.
Yes.
And that is what was the basic. Now we are further classifying these into 9 qualities. So, which because it was for me a little easier to understand, because the gunas also keep moving during the day.
Yes.
Same person can have all the 3 gunas at different points in time.
Yes.
Similarly, my question is, can the qualities which have been described change as per the situation? Because, for example, a person who is doing good will be seen as doing good by the same. Take the example which Swamiji gives about Yudhishthira and Duryodhana. You go and find out who is doing good or bad.
Yes.
So it is only in the mind of the beholder, right? I mean, the eyes of the beholder.
Yes.
So how it is difficult for us to actually spot these qualities and classify. Okay, I understand what you said earlier, that you have to look at yourself first and then do it. But qualities have been given to group people.
Yes.
And the way we relate to them is there. So it becomes that much more a little difficult, sir. My question is going round and round because I feel that these qualities are always changing during the day.
Yes, this is exactly what you are asking is exactly similar to what Ranjini was saying. When it keeps changing, it means there is a combination of all that in every individual that I'm interacting with. Because this verse very clearly says there are these nine categories of people outside. See them with Samadarshinaha. That's what the verse is saying. This verse is saying there are these 9 categories of people outside of you. See them with equanimity. Now there are these distinct classes. And when we classify based on the predominance. When we classify a person as Sattvic, Rajasic or Tamasic, we classify them based on the predominance. A predominantly Sattvic person will also have some tamasic aspect. A predominantly tamasic person also will have a rare glimpses of something sattvic in him. But when you interact, how would you interact? You interact based on the predominance or the changing factor. Initially, you deal with the predominance. Once your penetrating capacity is developed, and you have become flexible and liberal, you can act according to the changing guna. Are you able to follow? That means you become like a Krishna. That means you become like a Krishna. You act according to that person at that point of time, which is a very high state of development. Remember Swamiji's example, beautiful example. In the meeting, this man was introduced as the president of the Laundry Association. Remember that beautiful example. This person is introduced as the president of the Laundry Association. He gave his shirt to that fellow. Because what would you do with the president of the Laundry Association? What would you do with that fellow? Beautiful. Now, it requires a very high level of objectivity to do that. You will follow? To interact with people based on the changing thing, you require a very high level of objectivity. It is possible to relate that way, but it requires a very high level of objectivity, which we don't possess at this point of time. Then what do? We recognize they are changing, but what I choose to see as a sadhana, I recognize people are changing. As a sadhana, what I choose to see? I choose to see the goodness. As a sadhana, I choose to see the goodness. Are you able to follow? That is the sadhana that I am practicing. Because there will be some good in everybody, and I choose to see that, and I choose to associate only with that. But when the other qualities come, what do? I know this person is good. Temporarily, these qualities are manifesting, and I choose not to react to. Able to follow? And I choose not to react. For example, if a highly sattvic person shows some tamasic expression, I choose not to react. It's a conscious choice I made, not to react. When I choose not to react, there will not be a response. Are you able to follow? I choose not to react. So what do? I understand these classifications, and these classifications is based on the, what do you understand it as? You understand it based on the predominance. And I relate with that predominant aspect of that person. At times when they show the other qualities, I choose to, don't say I chose to ignore, I choose not to react. They will follow? When I choose not to react, there will not be a response back from me. And why do I do that? This is what my sadhana is. This is what my tapas is. Is it okay, Bharat? Did I help you in any way? One second. Yes.
Because a while ago you said you choose the good aspect in that person. My understanding is one is the good aspect, one is the predominant aspect, and another is the moving aspect. And then later you said that you choose with the predominant aspect of event. So I'm confused.
I said three things. Correct. Yes, correct. I said three things. One is the predominant, one is the good, another is the moving. For your assessment, you take the predominance. For assessment, you take the predominance. What do you react with? What do you choose to react with? The good. What is it that you choose not to react? Whatever the other qualities are. Are you able to follow? You need to assess. You need to assess. We are not talking about judgment, we are talking about assessment.
Yeah.
So assessment is based on the predominance. When you are assessed, how do you assess? Two qualities are there. What is it? There is the positivity and there is the negativity. That's how you assess. That is assessment, predominance. Then comes the goodness, the positivity. So what do you choose to react?
Yeah, to the goodness.
Goodness. What do you choose not to react? To the fluctuating negativities, which they show different from their predominance. Fluctuating and earth, fluctuating from the predominant nature. So, so what do you choose to react?
The constant is always goodness only.
What do you choose to react? You keep goodness as the constant. As the sadhana. That's the tapas. You choose to keep goodness as the constant. As the last week we called as Morris Maeterlinck's work. Goodness bereft of guide. Goodness is the standard. That is how Vedanta starts. All are essentially divine. It's the standard that is set already. Are you able to follow? All are essentially divine. All are purity is the essential nature of you, me, and others. Purity is the essential nature. Goodness is the essential nature. It's not that you are brainwashing yourself to see goodness. You understand goodness is the essential nature. Angada tapas, angada knowledge and tapas gets integrated. Are you able to follow where the knowledge and tapas integrates? All are, it's not that you are forcing yourself to see some goodness in the other. ஏதோ ஒரு காலத்துல ஒரு நல்லது பண்ணாங்கல்ல அது மட்டும் பார்த்தா என்ன? Mind doesn't work like this and all. It will not help you in any way. These kind of things will not help you. What will help you? Knowledge helps. What does knowledge says? All are essentially divine, pure. So what do you see in everybody? When you see a person, you see the purity first. You see the divine. Yeah. Divine. You see the divine. That's why the Sampradaya says, Namaskaram. Namaha karoti. I prostrate. Namaskaram means, when you say Namaskaram, what is Namaskaram means? Namaha karoti. Namaha karoti iti Namaskaram. Meaning I am prostrating to you. To the negativities I prostrate. To the insensitivities I prostrate. What am I prostrating to? The goodness in you, the divine in you. You may not be aware of the divine in you. You may not be aware of the goodness in you, but still I prostrate. Are you able to follow? It means what? What have you kept as the standard? Goodness becomes the standard. If goodness becomes the standard, what will not happen after that? Goodness becomes the standard. Complaining will never become, you will not complain about anybody. No being can frustrate you. No situation can trouble you after that. Everyone follow? Bharat, is it okay? Last one, Mala.
Namaskaram, sir.
Namaskaram.
எனக்கு just ஒரே ஒரு பாயிண்ட் I couldn't either listen properly or understand properly. இந்த need versus greed, physical intellect level அதெல்லாம் கொஞ்சம் புரியுது. இந்த emotional levelல and mainly how to exercise self control on the emotional level. I mean emotional need level.
Yes. At the emotional level, self-control comes when in your interaction with the other, you think in terms of how you can serve the other, irrespective of the other. Irrespective of who the other is, your focus is on how can I be of some help, some service to the other. That's all it matters. But the other doesn't deserve it, no sir. The other is bad, no sir. The other is the Rakshasa, no sir. The other is my mother-in-law, sir. Yeah. What do I do in all these cases? Their negativity is their problem. Their negativity is their problem. Their negativity is their issue, is their problem, is they have to settle their accounts. For their negativity, they have to settle their accounts. What is self-control here? How I can be of some? The attitude I'm talking about, the emotional attitude, not action. I'm talking about the attitude. How I can be of some? How I can be of some help to the other. One. Second aspect is second aspect of self-control in emotion is if I can't be of service, at least I will not take anything. At least I will not demand. If I'm not able to be of service, okay. At times I will not be able to be of some service because of my own situations and limitations. What I do in those times, at least I tell myself that I will not demand, take anything. The third is what? The person loving me today need not love me tomorrow. The person loving me today need not love me tomorrow. He has the freedom. Out of freedom, that person is loving me today. Out of freedom, the person may not love me tomorrow. I am grateful to both. I respect to both. I am grateful to both. Again, I repeat. The person loving me today need not love me tomorrow. But yesterday you loved me. Thankful to that. Today that person is not loving me. Thankful to that also. Nah. God. You are what they call as the emotional well-being. Your emotional well-being is so good. And when you are that emotional well-being, by default, what will happen? You will have such a pleasant personality, you will be of help to others by default. For pleasantness that you carry is the help that you do to others. What is the help that you do to others? The cheer, the utsaha. I'm not sick or anything. Nothing. The cheer, the utsaha, the enthusiasm that you carry all the time is the emotional help that you can do to others. Ramtirtha says, if you are in a mood of melancholy, don't come out of your room, he says. Lock yourself up in the room and don't come out and spread the disease of melancholy. So what is emotional well-being to others? Not spreading the disease of melancholy. That's why they say, smile and smile costs you nothing, they say, no? It costs everything, huh? It is very expensive to smile. It's not easy to smile. It's not the plastic smile. It's not the plastic smile. It is something that is, so what is that emotional thing that you can do to others? The cheer, the enthusiasm, the utsaha that you carry all the time. You're able to follow, ma? This is what is at the emotional level. Is it okay? Last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mrs. Chandralekha has got a question, sir.
Ganesh, attend pandrena.
Sir, whatever, sir. And the poppy and
Yeah, our common attend pandunga.
yes, sir. No, sir. You said both Papi and Sadhu are both rebels.
Yes.
That's one. I don't know that president of the laundry association.
See, there is the play. One of the plays. He is elected as the he is elected as the mayor of the town. Papi Sadhu, first time telling you the story. He is elected as the mayor of the town, and he is introduced to everybody. He is the president of the goldsmith. This is the president of this. This is the president of this, and then finally, this man is the president of the laundry association. The way he describes it, president of the laundry association, immediately he removes his coat and gives it. Meaning, not literally. What does it mean? He reacts according to the responses are appropriate to the responses are always appropriate to the situation. That is the president of the laundry association. Now coming to Sadhu and Papi. யாரும் கேட்டிருக்க மாட்டான்னு நினைச்சு நான் அதை விட்டு ஓடி வந்துட்டேன் வெளியில. You heard it. Both are rebels. Sadhu and Papi both are rebels. A spiritual person is, an indisciplined person is also a rebel. A spiritual person is also a rebel. Both are rebels. A spiritual person is also a rebel, an indisciplined person is also a rebel. How do you differentiate between the two? Sadhu and Papi. Both are rebels. One person is called a Sadhu, another person is called a Papi. Why? Based on what? A Sadhu rebels against the norms. When I say he rebels against, what is he rebelling against? As I gave the example, all spiritual masters are seen as rebels in their generation. At least they will be seen as a rebel in their family. Like I was seen as a rebel in my family. Prasanna was seen as a rebel in his family. Why? Because they go against the so-called norms. And what does the Papi do? The Papi also rebels. What does the Papi do? The Papi also rebels. What does he rebel against? He rebels against anything that interferes with his indulgence. He will rebel. That's the Papi. Anything that interferes with his indulgences and selfishness, he will rebel. And a Sadhu rebels against his own tendency of wanting to indulge. What does the Sadhu rebel against? There is this tendency in him wanting to be indulgent all the time, wanting to be selfish and self-centered all the time. He rebels against his own indulgences and selfishness. Both are rebels. What does the Papi rebel against? Papi will rebel against his own. Anybody interferes with his indulgence, he will rebel. Anybody interferes with his selfishness, he will rebel. If they say red signal, na stop. Doesn't matter whether the other side is empty or not. You stop. Who are you to say I have to stop? When there is nobody that side, why can't I? Why can't I go? I'm not driving an ambulance, no, for me to go. I'm not driving an ambulance for me to go. This is the difference between the Papi and the Sadhu. Is it okay, ma?
Yes, sir. So that means the Sadhu rebels against his own indulgences, whereas that one for his indulgences.
Yes. He rebels against his own selfishness and indulgences.
Okay.
Papi rebels anybody who interferes with his indulgence, anybody who interferes with his selfishness, he will rebel.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks. Venkat. சாப்டர் என்ன சாப்டர் படிக்கிறோம் இப்போ?
RX, sixth chapter.
6 படிக்கிறோமா? என்ன verse படிக்கிறோம்? 9. அது முடிச்சிட்டோம். அது முடிச்சாச்சு. இந்த ஜன்மா chapter 6 verse 9 is taken out of syllabus. We will continue with verse number 10 onwards. Thank you.